Cool.
There it is. Record.
All right.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Brittany.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
I forgot to say the intro. It's
I
Between
know.
Two Tasters. Hey. Interview
Woo!
edition. Hey, Brittany. Nice to meet you. I've heard wonderful things about you from Annie.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, everyone. This is Brittany. She is the body positive mom. Where I know on Instagram in particular, you've probably seen me post different things or share different things that she's put out there. And today we have her on because of really her message ultimately.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
So Brittany, let's just start with going back in time. Do you want to tell us, how did you get to this point? Tell us your story.
Yeah.
I'll summarize my story real quick. Back in 2012, I became a dietitian. All right, I graduated, did the whole thing, and then I got my first job out of school, and I started working at WIC, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of been that type of person that just like can't sit still.
Sure.
And I remember graduating and starting that job and being like, so this is just like it then? Now I just like go to work every day? And I was like horrified. So I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And so I was like, well, I had read an article in Today's Dietitian actually about dietitians who served in the Peace Corps.
Oh,
and
fun.
so
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I was young. I didn't have kids yet. So I was like, yes, that is it. So I joined the Peace Corps. I got stationed in Nepal, which is right in between China and India.
Cool.
I majored in dietetics and in Spanish. So I was like totally set on going to like a Spanish speaking country. I was like, that's it. They're going to put me there. And then they called me and they were like, yeah, we accepted you. And I was like, yes, where am I going? Like South America.
Right.
And they were like, you're going to Asia. And I was like, Asia? No.
Scary.
Totally scary. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially when you major in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I accepted it. I was just like, whatever, I'll do it. And they speak Nepali, which is useful in only the country of Nepal.
Yeah. Which I assumed you picked up eventually.
Yeah, you spend like the first 3 months just like learning the language and the culture.
That's good though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived there for about 14 months. I lived in Nepal, and it is extremely third world. It was, I feel like I can describe the Peace Corps as like high highs and low lows. Like there was not a lot of in the middle.
Wow.
Yeah. Things were going really well, or things were just like horribly
really
hard.
bad. Yeah.
It was
Wow.
so hard.
Oh.
So I mean, I think there's a lot to say about just like getting used to a new culture. That is really a hard thing to do. And I kind of like found myself being like, all right, I like put all my eggs in this basket. Like I didn't like working a 9 to 5. So like, I'm going to do this. And then I wasn't like loving it either.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So life has those turns and I ended up like kind of like going to the city a lot because there were people who spoke English, and it kind of like gave me this sense of home. I met somebody, we started dating. He's from Nepal, and I got pregnant. There's some other nice to jump into that. So you cannot be pregnant and in the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is that I went back home, I had my baby, but it really kind of gave me some more time to think about like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And it like was just so obvious to me after living there and kind of seeing how women were treated and like what women had to go through. I was like, women, definitely something there. And then I think after I had my baby, I was like, something about women after they have their kids, because it's such a hard time.
Yeah. So many changes. Yeah.
And so that's pretty much where I went. After I had my first baby, I just took a job that was local. I didn't really care so much what it was. So I ended up, that's where actually I met Annie, because we worked together. And so I worked at like a behavioral health hospital. I learned a lot about eating disorders, and it really just kind of served me well when I finally decided like, you know what, this whole 9 to 5 thing is again kind of not.
Don't like it. Yep.
So I just think it was all of those like life events that added up for me. That was like, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so now I just I work online mostly. I do almost all of my sessions online. I meat with moms, and we just kind of like work on body image and food freedom and diet culture and all of that.
That's really great.
That's sort of it.
And how long have you been kind of doing that?
Yeah. So I started like roughly a year ago, and I was still working at the hospital like when I started that. And I think it sort of became like, it was like exhausting. Like I had kids, and then, so I have 2 kids now, and they're 2 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was working at the hospital full time, and it was not a gig that I loved.
Sure.
And so that was already like energy sucking.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to do the thing that I did love, like on very little energy.
Isn't that hard? I know it. Yep.
Well, and Brittany, you also do a ton of crafting too, which I know is like you might be like, oh, so she like goes to Joann Fabrics? No, like she like does legit like furniture craft.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's really, really awesome. Like
do you sell
an
it?
Etsy thing and everything. She's super creative, which I find just amazing for a dietitian.
We want to know about that too. So give me all of your information so we can get it out there.
All
for
of
you.
it. Yeah. But Brittany, I think too, though, real quick, like, I mean, you were hating the hospital. You know, like it was like all of the red flags were there saying leave and go do what you love.
Yeah.
And you actually listened. Like,
well, okay, I'll get into both.
Eventually,
both of those subjects.
It took you a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely terrifying to quit a job that is giving you health care.
Yeah.
And that is steady, and you have a steady paycheck coming in, and you have a family. But really what happened to me was I got into this car accident. Somebody hit me back in August. And then, so I got like a month and a half off of work trying to like recover from this really bad whiplash that actually I'm still struggling with, but whatever. And I went back to work, and I was dealing with like a job that I hated, and I was dealing with pain every day. And one Tuesday morning, I woke up and I was like, "Oh my God, I quit!" Like I quit.
Oh, great! I love it.
Yeah.
And my husband was
good
really
days.
happy.
Yeah.
Did you tell him before you did it?
I mean, we had been talking about it for a really long time.
Sure.
But
hey,
I don't know.
Brittany, was that the concussion where you were at the doctor?
Oh
no. Can you tell us about that real quick?
Oh, sure. So yeah, I get into this car accident. I'm like hit super, super hard from behind. And so I had a concussion where like my head didn't actually hit anything. It just like hit my skull
itself. Yeah.
So I go to this doctor the next day, somebody who's not, I've never really seen before. And he's like, "Oh, you're a dietitian." And I'm like, "Oh God." Like I can't even I like honestly I can't even think straight. I'm like just losing it.
I have a concussion. Do not ask me any questions.
And like, you know how you get into like those diet culture fights sometimes, and like sometimes you like pass. I don't feel like talking about this right now. It was like that, except for he really wanted to talk about it. He's like, I put all my patients on these plant-based diets, and I think because I had this concussion, my filter was just like kind of
what's gone.
So I like shut it down, and I was like, these diets aren't sustainable. You're a rich white lake country area. Of course you can follow that. And then I was like, maybe that was kind of mean.
One of my favorite stories. Like,
I just had to make it end. I was like, stop talking about this. But
yes.
Yeah.
So the lesson here is unless you want to know the truth, do not talk to a woman with a concussion.
Nope. I mean, because when you think about it, like as a dietitian, I feel like we have to have that talk so often.
I know.
That just sometimes you're just like, I'm just not.
No, so
right. So what do you think of
the main bullet points?
Yeah, exactly. The what do you think of blank questioning?
Yeah.
Do you eat salads?
Yeah.
Is that all you eat? Those questions, it's just like, oh my God, no.
It's not like a yes, no answer. Right?
No.
Like,
right.
I just don't feel like going into this right now.
Yeah.
Especially with a concussion.
Yeah. So speaking along those lines, so speaking along those lines then, when you are working with a mom,
Yeah.
You know, and I assume that you probably get people who have done everything in the book, or they've thought about doing certain things and they kind of want your, you know, how do you handle kind of working with someone around that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people that I see, they have done a lot of things. They've tried a lot of different diets. They have sort of decided that their body is flawed and horrible, and self-esteem is just really, really low. So, you know, I really work with them on just teaching them like what diet culture is. I feel like that's like the first thing I focus on with people is like, what it is. It's not just messaging, it's imaging too. So when you see this super buff, ripped dude standing next to pistachios at the grocery store,
right, exactly.
The real thing that's really happening right now. That's how pistachios is advertising. That's diet culture.
Right.
Without saying it, they're saying, eat pistachios and you can be super ripped. No,
nope.
Right. And so that's where I just like try to get them aware of it. And then it's almost like you let them in on the secret and they're like, oh, wow. Like I never knew. So then it's just kind of starting that way and then just kind of progressing into like doing like, you know, cognitive behavioral therapy type skills to get you to almost like, it's not to make you feel, it's sometimes people I think feel like maybe it's like trying to like brainwash you into thinking like that your body is okay, even though it's like quote unquote unhealthy and like quote, you know, like an obese range. Not that at all. It's really just trying to like almost unbrainwash you from diet culture and give yourself the skills that you need to be able to be okay with your body and move on with your life and like do the things you actually
do
want
things.
Right.
Acceptance.
And
so
you know, it's
much
not
acceptance.
like every single day you're going to look in the mirror and be like, I look fabulous. Like diet culture is all around us all the time. And you're going to have those days. But I think the person really has to be ready for the message.
They do.
And so a lot of times, especially on Instagram, because I've got a pretty good following on there, you know, a lot of times I'll just get people who just aren't ready to hear that yet. And there's not anything you can say to them. There, you can come up with all the research and all the things, but really they're just not ready, and that's okay.
Well, and Brittany, do you get a subgroup of moms or clients that you know follow that suit where they're like, hey, I want to work with you, but I am not willing to do X, Y, and Z, or I don't eat blah 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 blah. You know, where you're like they're already coming in with like a closed mind to the concept of intuition and acceptance and body positivity. You know, like, do you see that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I'll have people who will be like, but you know, I do follow this gluten-free diet, and I'm like, usually what I do is like,
I'm gonna write you a consult for someone else. Here you go.
No. Usually what I do is like, I just don't hit on that very hard right away because I like don't want to scare somebody off. So I just say like, you know, we'll touch on that later. Because first thing I want to do is just really get them aware of diet culture. And then I want them to make a decision about like, so is this gluten-free diet serving you well? Now that you know what you know. Because if you lead in with, oh, you're going to have to give up that gluten-free diet.
You're going to have to change that. Like I would.
It's to see you again. And like, also, it comes off really judgy and like, so.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
It goes away.
That's awesome.